And Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from the ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida, it's the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up, OG5? It's another Monday. We're here. We're still made it through another week. I got a big show tonight. We have Andy on here. We gave a shout out to Andy last week. He's from the Low Expectations YouTube channel. I'm sorry, Project Low Expectation YouTube channel. I'm a little off my game tonight. I had a little time for show prep. I was out running a low expectation 3 miles. Or actually, I should say self-loathing 3 miles because, well, what I did is I ate a large pizza, thin crust with pepperoni, sausages, bell peppers, 6 chicken wings, waited a half hour, and then ran 3 miles in an 89-degree heat with a refill of 94 because, well, I hate myself, I make bad life choices, and I want to punish myself. But a reason I bring that up, I was 1.5 miles into it, or 2.5 miles into it, and my phone rings, and Gordon just turned green, which proves that it's Gordon's connection and not ours because Andy is still in living color, and Gordon is fucking green as the Grinch who stole Christmas.
That's because I'm in the far, far west.
But that's besides the point. So Gordon, I was running 2 miles, and the phone ring, and it's our nephew Luke. And I'm like, hey, fella, what you doing? He's like, oh, nothing much. What's going on, Uncle Donnie? I was like, oh, I'm just 2 miles into a 3 mile run. What's up? I'm huffing and puffing, talking through my Raycons while maintaining my pace, mind you. He said, hey, can I come down to visit you? And I'm like, sure. When are you thinking? In my mind, I'm thinking like a week or so. He's like, in an hour. I'm like, where?
That is exactly the kind of shit I pulled at that age.
I was like, where are you
Actually,
at?
I didn't even call. I just show up.
For those you playing along at home, Luke lives in Kentucky. So when he said come down to visit, it's an 18-hour drive. I figured sometime next week. Nah, apparently he's been up in Venice all week, which I didn't know because I haven't been getting on Facebook. But here he is. Say hi, Luke.
Hello.
No, talking to that mic, son.
Hello.
There you are.
Okay.
It's been a while. So how's life?
Get all up on it, man.
Just working, living the dream.
Living the dream. Now,
excellent.
Are you still doing the welding?
I'm not. I gave that up for blacktop.
Uh-oh, Andy.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh, Andy. See,
so you're talking to two tradesmen here.
See, Andy here...
although I fly a desk now.
See, Andy here has a YouTube channel where he's wanting to spread his love for the late model Chevette with the world, and I'm sure he could tell you how important welding is, and for a young cat like you in 2020 to get into welding just to back out to go to work out in the hot sun... I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a great job to have at your age, but the welding is a lifelong skill, my friend.
Maybe one day
Welding's
I'll pick
a good
it
one to
back
fall
up.
back on.
But Luke's a little camera shy. He didn't really want to go on. I just wanted Gordon to see what's going on here. But let's get right into it, Andy. I was watching one of your YouTubes, and you're explaining that, you get it. Not everybody has the undying love for the Chevette like you do. But I kind of get it because I have the undying love. I don't have one. My dream, and this is a good topic for the YouTube comment and the Facebook comment.
I don't see it streaming, by the way, on Facebook.
Really? Because I'm watching right now. I'm in here. So it probably has to do with that bad connection you got because I'm actually in here. But anyhow, good question for you guys. What is your affordable, even though if it's not quite affordable dream car? And what I mean by that is a late model Chevette isn't a whole hell of a lot of money, but it's going to take time and money to get it to where you want it. For me, it would be between a 1953 to 64 Volkswagen Beetle. Once again, if I had $2,500, I can go on Marketplace and get one right now, but it's going to take some time and money. So that would be much like yours. Yours is the Chevette. Mine is the early Beetles. Gordon, what would yours be? What's your affordable dream car?
Probably a first generation WRX STI.
And Luke, you?
1970 Plymouth Superbird.
Ooh, he's got it down to a fact.
Even though my grandpa already has one.
Well, maybe you can get it
but
off.
he said affordable.
Yeah, affordable. Well, he's young. He's not quite in the realm of affordable, but yeah, I'm talking like $5,000 and up, like $5 to $6,000, not $18,000 for a starter.
I'd like to take a beater that could turn into a rally car, but that's
So-
a little out of my.
How did it
Not
get
realm.
started with you, Andy? When did the Chevette bug bite? Or
Well,
was
let me
it
step in because when Andy and I went to high school together, he had always been a little left to center on his cars.
what? He had like a
Remember he-
Escort hatchback.
No, but he drove a Citation that him, T.J. Bowen, Mark Bowen, and some others around the base. When we went to Hamilton, he would jack this car and drive it around his dad's car, and it was a Citation, so it was a Chevette extra large. And
Well, remember when we lived
in his car in high school.
when we lived in Rickenbacker, Dad got his first brand new car in a while. And this is before
Yes.
you got your S10. You remember what that
the
was?
Hyundai, wasn't it?
Yes,
It was
Hyundai.
blue Hyundai.
the blue Hyundai Accent hatchback. And the fact that you remember that's insane.
Actually, it was the XL.
Ooh, was it the XL?
Yeah, that's the car I learned to drive on 4-speed.
Oh, I vaguely remember it was blue on blue crime. And,
Oh, yeah.
was it a 4-speed or did you say a 5-speed?
It was 4-speed.
Was the outline of the stick shift, was it highlighted in yellow?
I don't think so.
Oh, so
Could it have been orange, maybe?
orange, that's
maybe
what I was
orange,
thinking. Yeah,
yeah.
blue on
I
blue
think
with
so.
orange highlights.
You know, I talked to Dad about that car, and he still misses it. He actually loved that little car.
What's
Are
Much
you
like
serious?
a Chevette. You know, it's the Korean version, right?
No. Those early Hyundais were way worse than any Chevette ever was.
But they were slightly better than a Yugo, right?
A little bit. Just a little bit, yes.
A lot safer than the Pinto.
first
But
generation
one of the
Hyundai was
cars I remember Andy eyeballing, there was right on 3C, right before we would head towards Riverbend. I think that's where you lived. There
Yes.
was this AMC Eagle 4x4.
Yes.
And
The SX, I think it was called. It was a little sporty hatchback one.
yes, it was.
Yes, red and black.
Was that only thing I can remember was that Sean? Did his dad have a square body Chevy with a wooden bed, or was that a Ford? Down on
Sean.
the corner.
You talking about Turtle?
No, Sean.
No.
The guy down in the very corner. His dad had like either a square body Chevy, but the bed was removed and it had like nice wood, or it was a Ford. I can't remember what it was.
That was Brian. That was Brian's dad.
Okay.
His stepdad, actually.
Black and red.
He had an orange and white, I thought it was. So he
Okay.
had a square body that had a flatbed. Then he also had a mint green, I think it was a 67 or 68 Chevy that also had a flatbed. That one had a steel flatbed on it.
Yeah, I remember one of them had wood on it. And I remember we
I
used to
think
get
that was
pissed.
the square.
I remember we'd get pissed. I was in elementary school at the time, and he was one of those guys who would edge the sidewalk.
Yep.
And we would ride our bikes, and then of course we not knowing that your body goes where your eyes are. You look at the edging, which is just wide enough for like a fourth grader's BMX bike tire, and you would go into it and go ass over tea kettle and get all scraped up and bloodied up. I think it happened to me and my sister both, and she had her high fluting 10-speed with the speed handles, and so she would lean into it on the sidewalk and then go right in the edging and
Well,
boom.
and before we get into Chevettes, I remember the first time I met Andy.
Oh
It
boy.
was on a 10-speed. He came from Lima, Ohio, I believe,
Yes.
on base. I think you said your nickname was TC back then,
No, dude.
and I'll leave it at that. And then then we went to Hamilton together, but then we both left Hamilton. And what's interesting, and this is how we hooked back up, is we had he ended up in Southwest City Schools also, but Franklin Heights.
Right.
And I happened to be just kind of cruising by the old Hamilton because I was off. And who did I see on his bike out in front of Hamilton Township High School?
You're an
Yep.
eagle.
Andy. And
Yep.
then that was it. Yeah.
You know,
I
it's,
remember that day. I was riding down the street. I can't remember what road it was, but the one was in front of the old Hamilton Township, the one that we went to.
Yes.
They tore that down about 5 or 8 years ago.
Yeah. I hear the new one looks like the old one. They kept it in that style.
It's got pillars. That's about it.
Okay.
But,
I haven't been back
I
in a
remember I
long
was
time.
riding down there. I was riding down the street, and I saw you go by. You were driving that S10, and you'd just gotten it.
yep.
And I remember just looking over my shoulder, saying, "Was that Gordon?" And then I looked back, and you were looking out the back window at me.
Yep.
I remember
Turned
that.
around
day.
and
You know, it's funny.
we ended up working at the same restaurant together.
I'm watching the video stream of me and Luke, and since my sister and I look so damn similar in the face, Luke and I have like the same. He's got my nose and eyebrows. Like we have hats. If I gave him one of my flat bill hats, he'd look like my kid. Look at his face. He looks just like mine, minus the white
Yeah.
hair.
I see it.
I just had a weird flashback. So remember where the elementary school was, right? Right up there in the corner.
Yeah.
And they had that little white building. Was that 665 right in front of there? What? God,
You're talking about it in front of base, right?
yeah, right in front of, right where Hamilton Elementary was. What was that main road right there? Super busy.
Roar Road and 104?
I think it may have been 104.
Was it 317? 317 is one right
317.
out in front of Rickenbacker.
Okay,
Yep,
yeah,
that's
317. And they had that little white building across the street that was a convenience store for a while.
Yes.
And then
Okay.
short later on, it turned into like a mom and pop seamstress place. Anyhow, I was out in front of the school one morning, and a dump truck came hauling ass down that road, and somebody was pulling out and hanging a left turn there, and it nailed a freaking minivan right there, right in front of the school. And I remember I ran down the hallway and went to the office window. I'm like, call the cops, call the cops. Like, why? I was like, a dump truck just smacked into a van. She's like, oh, really? I'm like, no, seriously, call the cops, because they had kids in there and everything. But that was like the first time I ever was an eyewitness to a high-speed accident like that. And it was insane to see a dump truck just plow into a freaking minivan doing like 65 down that road. What's up, Morgan Long? Checking on Facebook Live. So back to the question at hand a little bit. How old were you? When were you? What got you bit by the Chevette bug?
Well, how far back you want to go? I grew up in the back seat of one.
Well, so did we, but we don't know fixing them up in our goddamn garage.
That was a Pinto.
No, Mom had
Oh.
Chevettes. She had Ford Escorts. She had Geo Metros. Anything with a hatchback and two doors, she had one.
Well, like Gordon said, I've always looked kind of left to center when it comes to the cars I was interested in.
Mhm.
Sure, anybody could be into a Mustang or Camaro, and you're going to find a million of them any cruise in. But one of the cool things is, like, especially with like a Chevette, like you said, your mom had one, and you go to a car show, and if you come across a Chevette, you're going to get all kinds of people with Chevette stories. When the guy that I got my Chevette off of, Josh, when I approached him, it was the same thing. I approached him with a Chevette story, and he just kind of smiled, and he says, "You'd be amazed how many stories we get." We kind of got off talking about it.
I can
My
relate to
wife's
that.
My wife's first car was an orange Chevette, and their big story is she lost control and ended up hitting somebody's patio. I don't know how you lose control on one, but hey.
I can relate to the commonality and the agreeability of something like that when you're at a car show, when you're talking to spectators and you're talking to people. As you can see over my shoulder, I got my mannequin there dressed up in my P-41 Marine Corps uniform. I'm a living historian and reenactor. And so when we go to these museums and all that, my fellow reenactors will be setting up like big-ass wall tents and huge-ass tents. These tents cost thousands of dollars. But me and a small handful of other people will set up pup tents. That's what we sleep in all weekend. But it's the pup tents that are relatable to people, because when these people come in, yeah, you got all these big extravagant, command tents and wall tents, but it's the pup tent that the 50-year-old woman used in Girl Scouts when she was a kid. It was the pup tent that the grandfather said, oh, that's what we had when I was in service, and the dad said, that's what we had when I was in service, and oh, that's what I had in the Boy Scouts. And so I kind of get that. When you go to a car show, there's all these cars that are well out of your means, and they're nice to look at, but you see that Chevette, and all of a sudden you can agree with it. You know what it's like. You're like, oh shit, I can relate to that. Somebody's audio. Yeah, mute your mic there. Your audio.
Hold on.
Just close your
There we
browser
go.
out. There you go. You're all good.
Yeah, sorry.
But no, I get what you're saying. When you're at these car shows, people are more relatable to the affordable, cool car that's from their childhood versus the thing that they never had experience with.
Right. And one of the things I've always liked about them, of course, are they ugly cars? Yeah, whatever. Some people think
It's
they're ugly, some
subjective,
people
right?
think they're cute. Yes, it's subjective. But one of the things I've always loved is that they're tiny, and it doesn't take much to go quick in them. You can put a 300 horse V6 in there, and you're going to run 12s and a quarter if you can hook it up. A 300 horse engine in a Mustang or Chevelle, that's going to be a dog. So they're everybody remembers them. Everybody has stories. They're real easy to go quick. Something I didn't realize when I was younger, but I've since found out, is they handle amazingly. They have practically a perfect front to rear weight balance, 50-50 front to rear weight balance. And all you need is some decent tires and shocks, and you can pull a G on the skid pad. That's great.
For those of you who don't know, that's like what the BRZ pulls. or the FSR, which is a lower horsepower car, but they're perfectly balanced. Also, they kind of the replacement to the Miata in a way.
And not only that, but when he says that the brake pads, that's important because that means that's horsepower after it goes through the torque converter and the drivetrain. That's how much power it's getting at the wheels, at the concrete versus right off the engine. So that's quite a bit of ass in the tires. Here's an Escort Chevette fun fact. Was it a Chevette or an Escort that Luke over here, his mom, inadvertently destroyed the engine on? So yeah, your mom was sent out by your grandmother to put gas in the car because she was using it. Have you heard this story before?
I have not.
She put diesel in your grandmother's.
That does not surprise me.
And as
I don't know how she got the nozzle to effing fit, but whatever.
Well, I think that was before they standardized it, right, Andy? This would have been
probably she probably went to BP because BP always has green on their gasoline and black on their diesel.
Well,
I've been on many service calls.
I was gonna say this is circa 1994, 1993, so it was a while back.
That was about when BP was coming to town, but
Huh.
Man.
So yeah,
it smoked that car. It left you guys have been driving a crop.
It didn't last long. That engine did not last long at all. What's going on, John Kraft, OG5 checking in?
So, how is your build going? And what is your ultimate plans? Yeah, I saw your last video. You said, hey, this is what I've had done. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. My overall plans is to have fairly low cost build. I'm not going for a $200 build, but for what I'm going to end up with, I'm expecting to be pretty cheap. So I'm looking for cheap. I'm looking for fun to drive. Again, the great handling. I want it enhanced. I want to be able to pull over a G. I want a good quarter mile time, decent gas mileage, which actually that just got shot all to hell because I found out I'm going to have to run, the E85.
Oh, really?
So
the non-ethanol?
Yeah. So that's 30% drop in gas mileage right there.
Yeah, what people don't realize is ethanol gas has an ass load of water in it. And it does wonders on older cars and even, newer ones. But obviously the new ones are designed for it. But if you have an engine or a performance engine, but a standard engine that's built before the proliferation of ethanol, i.e. 2011, that'll do some wonders on your fuel filters, everything, the sending unit, the whole 9 yards. It'll crush it, especially if that car sits occasionally.
That's the big problem is if they sit. If it's a daily driver, you can burn ethanol all day long. But if it sits, the stuff goes bad real quick, and it does, like you said, it does a real good number.
Now, obviously, I don't think you're not planning on going full off the frame restoration. You're just wanting to make this thing fun to drive. So, with that being said, are you gonna lay frame on this thing? You're gonna squat it at all? Are you gonna leave it normal height? What's your deal there?
It's already sitting pretty low. When it was still stock, I cut out way too much of the coil spring, and it was sitting too low.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oops. I always joked around and said, "Is there
measure
such
twice,
thing as
cut
too low?"
once."
Yeah. I cut it twice; it was still too short. But yeah, I always joked around and said, "Is there such thing as being too low?" And I discovered there is.
Yeah, you don't want your wheels to do this shit.
It was doing that. It was doing that, and then also going through the alley beside the house. It was the oil pan was scraping the high part of the alley in the center.
I was gonna say, going over speed bumps diagonally.
Yeah.
So now you got to get a skid plate. Is that what you're saying?
No, now I need to get new springs.
There you go.
But no, it is gonna sit a little bit lower than stock. I actually love the way that it sits. I just don't like the way that it drives, the way that it sits. So I'm gonna see if I can't do some magic and do some tricks and try and make it as low as it sits right now and just make it work.
Now, you going for a sleeper look on the car? Or are you?
No. If you were to go to the YouTube channel, you see that I've got spray painted.
Yes, I've seen
scallops. Yes, I've got the white stripes on there, the scallops, and it's just kind of a joke. Like you said, I can make fun of myself. I get it. It's a Chevette. A lot of people make fun of them.
Shit bet.
Yeah, I know.
So now you've gone too far, Don. God, you're such a dick.
No, I just remember that because a family member of ours back in the day said, "I got a vet." I was like, "Yeah, shit vet." because he was trying to get passed off. They had a Corvette, and I was like, no, you got a Chevette. But well, the nice thing about keeping a budget friendly rebuild is just clear coat it. You can use that patina. You got to worry about trying to, if you're making a sleeper, you got to go get a paint job and all that shit. Just clear coat that patina.
That rat rod
I think
look
eventually, yeah, but a rat rod look doesn't look good on a Chevette. Then
No, it just looks like a rusty
junk.
Chevette.
Yes, exactly. Eventually, it's going to get painted. That's not going to be. I want to drive around for at least a couple years the way that it looks right now. The paint job that's on it, it's garbage. It got wrecked sometime in the 80s, and they did a complete repaint, and I don't think they did any prep. The paint is peeling, it's curling, it's got the consistency of tree bark.
Nice.
Oh, great.
Gator
Yeah,
skin.
no exaggeration. I have rubbed up against it accidentally, and I did get cut from it. That's how bad this paint is. Yes.
Any Bondo on it?
Actually, I haven't found any.
Huh.
I have not found any filler anywhere on this thing. It's actually, even though it's got a real craptastic paint job, it's actually really clean.
Now you live.
My new 2021 Tacoma now has filler on it because it got hit by a fucking canopy.
Now you live in.
A-pillar.
You live in a wet environment. It rains in the summertime. It snows in the wintertime.
Hey, compared to Vegas, anything's a wet environment.
Yeah, compared to Vegas, definitely. Yeah.
Well, my
We
question.
are on the edge of the Rust Belt.
Well, my question was going to be how are that year Chevettes? How are they known for their floor pans, their window seals, and their A-pillars? Are they rust magnets? Are they pretty good with factory undercoating? How is there something you need to look at? If somebody's watching this, like, man, I dig Chevettes too. What should someone look at when going through someone's barn, or they find a Chevette that's been sitting around, hanging around, neglected for years? What are some areas to look at? Where should they look at? Where are the trouble spots on a Chevette?
I almost wonder if you've done your homework, because you did hit two of the very common ones and one of the semi-common issues.
Well, before you answer that, let me just answer that. I get made fun of by my old lady. She says, you're the only guy who watches nothing but Velocity Channel. Yes, I know it's Motor Trend, but I'm old school. Velocity Channel, who doesn't know shit all about cars. And so I sit there and watch people restore cars all day and buy used cars. And so I know about the warning spots. But you ask me, about rear differentials or horsepower or any of that, it means nothing to me. I don't know anything, the numbers of motors and all that shit. But I fake it pretty well.
Fake it till you make it.
There you go. The obviously the Chevette was a cheap car, and they did half-ass some of the stuff. And body seal, seam sealer, was one of the places where they screwed up a lot. Because of that, the floor pans, especially on the driver's side, are usually rotted and gone by now.
You got a stop sign in there?
Yes, stop signs. A lot of them have stop signs. Actually, no parking signs works better because it's a really small,
less
small
cutting
area. Yes. And then the
Tip
window
of
seals,
the day.
they're known. Tip of the day. But then the window seals, they're also known for leaking, the windshield, and of course the 30 to 40-year-old cars, depending which year you get, and the side windows the seals are all drying up and cracking. So
because they had the pop-out windows in the back, correct?
Yes, and that's another sore spot, is that there's no hinges being reproduced.
Really?
And they use cheap plastic.
See,
So
that's the
a
benefit.
lot of them.
That's the
You
benefit.
get a 3D printer.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're ticking down. We got a few minutes left before we're going to take our break and restart. But that's the benefit of the fact that they continued to make old school Volkswagen Beetles in Mexico up until like 2008. Even though they were fat chicks, a lot of those components, door handles, doorknobs, the pop out hinges, all that stuff was still being produced relatively almost to the exact spec, at least to the late 60s models, that you can still get those left and right. But yeah, you got to go rummaging through every freaking car show rummage sale that comes through town, don't you?
Yes. And Gordon mentioned the 3D printers. We had a guy in the Chevette community who did a limited run. I think he produced 60 of them, 60 sets. And, he had a lot of time into the 3D printing, into the drawing and everything. And he made a beautiful reproduction. And they cost, they weren't real cheap. They weren't stupid expensive. I think they were like $60 for the set.
Did he make them look the chrome, or were they like a gray color?
Actually, they were black plastic.
Oh, okay. The original ones are black plastic. Okay, I was going to say, because
Yes.
if they were like the metal chrome ones, then that'd be hard to reproduce. But the black
Speaking
plastic.
of the chrome, what is so everybody's pushing back against chrome these days, right? Everybody's blacking out everything. Hell, I'm even doing it to the Taco to a certain extent. But what's your thoughts on that whole? Because to me, black And black logos reminded me of the cheap cars in the day. You know, a lot of black
Yes.
plastic on it and
Your
black
S10.
trim. Yeah, the S10, for example.
Yes.
Although it did have a little chrome on it. But
Yeah, people's turning their
and,
back.
then it had a front end or the rear end of a Camry in it. But anyway, but what's your
remember
thoughts on the whole black? Yeah, you were in the truck with me.
Yes, I was.
There's a fucking thing in the road.
Was it a Camry? I thought it was a Honda Accord.
And I don't remember. It was one of the Jap. You
Yeah.
know, it may have been
Right
in the
there on
Accord. It was
3C.
Ohio. Yeah,
Yeah,
right
it
on
was on
3C.
3C.
Because
Yep.
there was something landscaping in the. Something was in the road. I remember looking at it.
I think you said a tree
remember
or
it was
some crap.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was a log or a paper bag, but I do remember that.
My luck, it was a paper bag. Yes, I wrecked the truck over a paper
Well,
bag.
this would be a good topic. We got 7 minutes before we take a break. For Luke, as a young cat who likes cars, and you hang around some other car guys, what's your all's opinion on the chrome package? Do you like chromed out vehicles, or are you more for the
Get
flat
rid of
black?
it.
Get rid of it.
I'm doing a chrome delete on my car here soon.
I think a little bit of chrome is fine. Just, you know, highlights, little touches here and there. That's it.
It all depends on what the car is and what type of build, what style of build you're doing, as far as I'm concerned. You get an old Chevelle, if you get rid of all the chrome, it looks like crap. However, you get a late model car and you try and put chrome on it, it just doesn't look right. So it all depends on the vehicle and what type of build you're going for.
Yeah, you put a lot of chrome on it. You need to lower it and put 22s, right?
John Kraft asked a
Yeah.
question. John Kraft asked a question I was going to bring up. John, we're going to get to your question here after we take our break and restart because we're poor and we can't afford the premium version of Zoom. But if you guys want to help us afford the premium version of Zoom, do us a favor and head over to what'sinyourhead.com or d-410.com. Click on that Patreon, sign up. It's only $1 a month. If you really, really like us, you can sign up for the $7.50 a month plan, and after month 2, you'll get a free t-shirt. But if you guys really want to support the channel, support the show, and our YouTube channel, which we're going to get into with Andy momentarily, because he made the mistake of becoming a YouTube blogger, and he didn't realize the amount of work that went into that, right, Andy? So
That's a
we're
lot.
gonna touch on that momentarily. You guys hang tight. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back in just a few seconds. So just stick around, and we'll be.